So today I'm going to be talking about the Jason Brous blades, the Silent Soldier neck knife version 2 that just came out. But before I talk about that, I want to go over my little philosophy about fixed blades. Now the thing is, okay, a fixed blade does provide a couple key features that perhaps a folder cannot provide. One of those, first, being the ability to quickly draw it. You know, it's sheathed, it's ready, it's in a spot that's ready to go, almost like a samurai sword, you know, and you quickly just pull it out and you're ready to go, with no real skill necessary in how to flick open a knife and deal with moving parts, and you're ready to defend yourself. That's true, number one. Number two would be that a fixed blade, typically speaking, without the moving parts, people will say that you can baton with it, it'll be a little more durable. That's also, also true. But as you get towards larger size fixed blades, every size you go up, the amount of space and the amount of presence it has, and your options, in my opinion, of carrying it on you, unless it's on your backpack and you're in the outdoors, starts to get limited. And you can see, for example, and even like more of the larger size, fixed blades, something like this Basinelli, okay? Let's look at this overall size. Okay, you get a lot of blade length, but then if you compare it to it, you see it's the same size knife with the same size reach, with actually, possibly, see if I grip my strider, yeah, about the same size reach, but then look at the space. So for me, that's what kind of determines it. For me, a fixed blade, one, the larger they get, the more they tend to weigh me down, and that's always, an issue when you're outdoors and you have all the rest of your stuff with you. The next thing would be then the size. The size of that, knife, it can be kind of get in the way of things. And so for me, when I've said this before, but I'm gonna say this again, I think a tactical folder is a better way to go. If you're gonna have a fighting knife, and literally in this sense now we're talking just a large knife in your pocket that's folding for self-defense. You get it with all the features of a self-defense fighting knife, and then that be that. You keep it in your pocket, you learn how to deploy it quickly, and you're ready to go. If you deploy it incorrectly, you don't have to worry about getting hurt. And these knives can be deployed quickly too. I mean, if it's under that slang, it isn't formally a gravity knife, but you get the right kind, it kind of goes around that sort of rule, and you have a knife that's easy to deploy, and roughly the same. But there is that idea now, a small fixed blade like this knife, okay? I tell people this, and I've said it before, but now it's time to keep saying it, okay? When you look at, you want performance, you want like beefiness, you want a thick blade, similar to the Hest, the DPX Hest. What you're going to pay for when you pay for folders like the Hest or something, you're paying for moving parts, pivots, screws, lockups and stuff like that, and you're dealing with all those issues. You're not paying necessarily just for pure performance now, you're paying for all these other things to have that performance be compact and you can fold it. I mean, the Hest might have a wave, but it's the same thing as saying, what you can quickly, an Emerson, you can quickly deploy it. But it's just like these self-defense these self-defense fixed blades. These can be quickly deployed and probably even easier because I'm not flailing around. But like I said, the problem is, you say you want this for your wife or something as a self-defense knife, and K-Bar has even a shorter version with a little stubby blade. You still have to practice with it, number one. But the second thing is also, it's just obstructive. She's not going to be able to have this. Is she going to really put this? Is your little teenager girl going to put this on her belt and walk around the streets like this? No, it's just not accessible for everybody. Another thing to mention too is when you start to get into these kind of knives, even the larger folders, you're thinking tactical self-defense. Unless you're trained, there's that high possibility of, one, you don't know how to grip it, and like this knife falls into that category of it doesn't have enough width in the handle, like flatness, so that it stays flat against your palm, so there's no risk of it twisting or moving around. This one right here, though, this K-Bar, it does. This one can kind of turn on you, and if you're not skilled with it and you're flailing around and getting hit, will you possibly, when you pass, it's normal for you to pass your hand across your arm when you want to go move your hand somewhere else. But with a blade now in your palm, will with your hand, will you know when you're passing over not to accidentally cut yourself? Do you have to pay attention to that? That's something you have to train. And so it's not accessible, again, I'm trying to say. So now we get to this Jason Brous blades. Now this is definitely one of my favorite. One of my favorite by far. I mean, I want to have multiples. You gotta hang it in your car from your rearview mirror. Mel should have one. I want to have one. This replaces my little compact. Any EDC that's compact, I'm just gonna switch out for this because it's like, you know, what else? Why not? You know, it's like, and I'm gonna talk about that. First, the changes were originally it was a Wharncliffe, and the Wharncliffe blade, it was a normal Wharncliffe, not like this where it's modified. You know, where there's a slight belly and slight curve up. It was a full-on straight, you know, straight edge, basically like a razor. And two things, I always tell people this, and knife makers, okay, and take note here. You have a Wharncliffe blade, and this, if this paper was represented from the here to the tip, right? You turn it this way, okay? The Wharncliffe blade, you know, gives you like the straight cutting edge, okay? Okay, only way I can represent the paper. But a curved blade, obviously, because it's not a straight line, will provide more cutting length. And this one barely increases by like 1/8 of an inch, but it's still 1/8 of an inch. Just say he didn't drop point it, and this was straight out the top, right? This belly would curve more, and you'd end up with even more cutting edge, you see? So there would be an extra maybe 1/2 inch more of cutting edge. So that's why it's good to go that route. So when he made this change, I was like, okay, this is more functional. And it's more functional too because when you have a flat cutting edge, you know, if you can see, for example, now, this is no way to say this knife is no good, and this is actually anyway a taunt anyway. But let's say, for example, it was just this section right here, just this area right here, like it was flat, like a Boker Warcom. Okay, when you cut, you can see how your hands get in the way, like your hands pass wherever you're cutting. You want to cut something, your knuckles come close to it. You know, you can't, you know, how do I say, take this steel and point it towards something. You know, this curve helps you allow to dig into something while keeping your hands slightly away from what you're cutting. And so therefore a curve is really important on a smaller knife. So the bigger the knife gets, of course, though, that's not big of an issue. If you have to have your hand pass, you know, it's passing far away from what you're cutting. And, you know, at the same time, you know, this tip doesn't need to be as round because it protrudes because you have that length to work with. But the smaller the knife gets, that's when you really want to look at more of a curved blade. And that's going to be more functional, especially if you're going to be doing cutting, a little more serious cutting if you've ever had to do it beyond just cutting boxes, which is what a razor would do. So this new version is awesome. It's D2 steel. It has this bead blast that he ran through his heat treatment, and it kind of burned it and turned this kind of uneven, you know, kind of random black, brown, burnt look. Let's see, there's some, the coating isn't like, you know, it's kind of like a Strider coating. You can see it kind of can wear, not you know, Mel was, in the last video, she was carving our initials into that log on my Max Mission video, and you can see it holds up decent enough. I mean, it's not invincible coating, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, this is something you're going to use. But what really makes this knife so great is accessibility. You can put this in your pocket like a pocket knife, like a little compact folder, you know. But at the same time, it's a serious knife. You wouldn't survive with that little compact folder. This one you can. This is, you know, full-on performance. In the same instance too, now we're talking, okay, you have these compact folders. Let's say even it's a Delica, okay? And, you know, it's compact, so you open it up. You have to make sure that you get a good grip on it. And the more compact it is, the more hard it is to get a good grip for self-defense. You know, usually it ends up they have to sit in your palm, or they have to be like the Credit Card Tactical or the Subcom, which have that deep choil, which those are fine. But they're rare and far, you know, they're far and few between where you find a compact folder that you can use tactically, just because of that small grip size. And then you have to worry about the lock engaging. You have to worry, and you have to worry about lock strength. And the smaller it gets, all these things start taking hits. Like I said, so it might be more logical for you, and just my suggestion, big time, is to go for a small fixed blade like this. And where this now becomes, this is not only EDC, like you say, practical. Okay, so you can carry it on your neck, you can carry it on your bags, you can find multiple ways of carrying this thing inside your belt strap. Okay, what it is now is this is basically a self-defense tool. It's basically like that TDI knife, but more accessible and more safe for people who are new or who are unfamiliar with how to defend themselves using a knife. Because first, you're talking about quick drawing, right? Okay, there you go. It doesn't take much skill to have this be secure, and you just go put your finger in there and pull out and you're ready to go. You can't drop it if you get hit. It's not a long blade like the TDI knife, so we can accidentally cut yourself if you're unaware. It's still within a small amount of distance that you can punch with, you know, just like that smaller K-bar right here. But this K-bar can turn in your hand, this one cannot. So it kind of takes the idea of like a karambits. And, you know, just like Tough Thumb's, his custom knife that I'm waiting for, you know, it's just great because I mean, like when it comes down to it, when you really start to, I mean, if you look at culturally, I mean, the karambit, this knife, you look at other knives that have basically like brass knuckles built in. They have all these finger holes so you can securely not drop your knife, or even how they try to say like you can like the MA42, you can operate a gun while still holding the knife. Those ideas is legitimately like there that for people who haven't fought with a knife, it's very easy to drop your knife. If you get hit or stunned for a moment, different little things can make you drop your knife. So with this one, you can see, I mean, it's got that small size but that completely secure grip. So it's safe to use in a fight for those who are inexperienced or for even those who are experienced. It provides options. This jimping on the top is very hard cut, so it's by far like you won't risk your hand sliding down or your thumb sliding down. So you can't even slide down because your finger. It does offer this little groove right here for you to grip it and cut towards you. And you can see here's another way to deploy it. So you put 2 fingers, right? You pull it out, and now it becomes a sort of semi-brass knuckle with a blade at the end. You can angle it and cut at the opponent, or you can just hold it like this and punch. Okay? And say again another way. And what this is all showing is that if you were in a fight, whichever way you grab it, if you're not paying attention, you have a secure option, a way to use it, you see? And now you can punch again and slash. I mean, okay, so Jason's from like Santa Barbara. I'm like, dude, what goes on in Santa Barbara that you need something this tactical? I'm like, damn. Santa Barbara I thought was a pretty safe place, but Jason says you have this option of doing this little kind of like hidden look, kind of concealed. Maybe don't sharpen it. Don't sharpen it like Jay Davis, okay? And you can go like this, and like perhaps later after you can deploy it. And I'm like, okay, if you say so, Jason. And then you have other options for like reverse grips and stuff like that. I mean, my fingers, but you could do that. You could even option to go like this and pull cut towards whatever you're cutting. And if you had to stab in the box and pull it, you do have lots of variety of ways to carry it and use it. And if you just want to kind of extend your reach as much as you can to cut whatever fruit or whatever something normal EDC use, you could just hold like this, since you're not going to need such a ridiculously amount of I guess you could say secure grip. You can go like this, use it this way. It is 6 millimeters thick, so you can hold it, no problem. This is a seriously practical, heavy-duty, everyday carry EDC that is like serious self-defense. Like tactical. I mean, this is going with Mel. I would say if I had a daughter and Mel's my wife, they're carrying this. I'm carrying this. This is something I'm gonna have everywhere. It's too good not to have. If I gotta pry, I'll pry with this. If I have to survive, well, that's a really small work surface. But you know what? I'll figure it out. I mean, however I have to hold it and baton with it, I'll baton with it. And it's another thing. You don't need, like I said, those bushcrafters. They use the smaller blades, somewhere between 3 to 6 inches. You don't really need a large, knife to go hacking away at things. I mean, this is great, but I mean, chopping at stuff is one thing, because you're always hearing. I mean, even Mr. Thomas, they chop and the thing hits something and it falls, falls in their hand. You see again why these finger holes people don't realize, and it falls in their hand and it flings around and cuts you in the leg or something. Okay, you don't need a chop. You can have a smaller size fixed blade, go in there and just baton. And it's more controlled, it's not flailing around. You can get more controlled cuts at one specific point, and you just baton. Something that people will say you shouldn't do with a folder. Well then, then have a compact fixed blade. Now this is a little bit too compact for that kind of idea of outdoor survival, but you could do it. I mean, you can get by with it. For me, I view this as, hey, people, this is like this new thing now to have these compact, tough built knives. And it's kind of a contradiction. You can't get compact and tough, especially if it's a folder, because you're making it more compact and these parts are getting more small every size down. And you can't have perhaps a safe grip unless it does have something like that credit card tactical by 3 Stitch Forge. It has sort of some deep choil to securely. That credit card tactical has a flap space and a deep choil, which fills those 2 categories we were just talking about. So this knife then just makes sense, and for the price, I mean, it can't be beat. I mean, this is genius. He made it universal. I mean, the previous version didn't have this coating, and this coating helps make it a little bit more discreet, and again, a little bit more accessible. A girl can put this in her purse, or dark, and I mean, someone who doesn't know how to fight, like I said, someone who doesn't train can learn how to quickly deploy it, just like what they promote with the TDI Tactical Defense Institute K-Bar self-defense knife. but at the same time provide even more secure of a grip, a little bit less danger to the user themselves if they're unfamiliar with holding a knife and fighting with it. And again, you can do it quickly and learn how to quickly do it, and it's always there, it's ready to go. It's genius. This is an awesome design. This is one of my favorite, okay? If the Zazula is my favorite one, okay, last time I did was favorite 3 folders. This time is favorite 3. One is the Zazula, one is this Silent Soldier version 2 by Brous blades. And like I said, this coating is decent coating. Yeah, who cares? And really, as it wears out, you know, that just shows that use. It just looks cooler anyway. Here's a 4mm blade. This knife, if you can see, I think it's 6mm. I mean, 6mm. Wow. You get 6mm of steel, D2 steel in your hand. You can pry with this for sure. I mean, you can pry with 4mm, and I've done it multiple times, no problem. And if you're outdoors, you saw I could take a little Sage 2 3mm and pry with it. And the SMF's only 5, and this goes up to 6. See what I'm saying? So at this compact size, you want a little tough knife, and one that you can survive with, you know, perhaps in terms of that fixed blade idea, and one that's easy to deploy, provides solid grip, you know, and provides all the money you're paying for into the performance, into the steel, into the ergonomics, not into any other moving parts. You know, look at that. I mean, that is unbeatable. Coming up this month is like an article about this in the Blade magazine. This is genius. This is like a home run hit in every single thing. I'm telling you, I praise it. I praise this knife. This knife is awesome, man. This is like just best in category, best. I mean, one of the best creations. I mean, this really is blows me out of the water for this type of concept. So, one of my favorite by far. Like, no contest for small fixed blades and fixed blades in general. There'll be some more fixed blades, of course, that I want to talk about that, you know, do things that this kind of steel perhaps can't do, or, you know, this size knife can't do. But as I get to that, you know, that's for another day. So, final comments again on this in terms of which, you know, what style knives to carry. Okay. In my suggestion, you know, a big, large tactile folder is fine. You know, you look at my channel for some suggestions. You know, the features that I talk about. You know, you're going to have a big lock, big screws. You know, you're going to have big grip. You know, so it's easy to securely do everything you need to do, and to use it for self-defense. People say, okay, you know, you don't use a folder for you know, batoning for survival use, but you can do it. There are knives like Striders, for example, like Hinder. They're built in a way that you can do it, and I haven't seen any problems from that. So the argument of saying a fixed blade is better than a folder for survival, I think once you get larger folders, that's not a problem. Smaller folders, perhaps. You know, as you start getting towards like this, and then what do you have with smaller folders? You know, the deployment options become a little bit more. You have to be precise. You know, they'll put a wave, which is great, but it can move around your pocket. The knife opens. You have to get a good grip, because if you don't get good grip, and the smaller the knife gets, the more dangerous it is to use. You know, for example, on this knife, if you know your hand isn't just right up there enough, you know, the guard won't do anything for you. While on this one, you know, you can see even if it's for back here, you have at least some protection. So that, at the end, those are things to consider, you know, the smaller screws. So you start getting a smaller knife, and you start thinking of EDC uses and self-defense uses. Perhaps not, perhaps even farther away from a large, beefy folder like an SMF for survival. You know, these have smaller parts. You start looking even more away from the idea of a fixed blade. And but in terms of EDC use and self-defense use, the self-defense purposes, the applications are limited because of that smaller size. So then, under my suggestion, you know, a small fixed blade is better when you're looking at compact, because now you've basically eliminated all those. You've stepped into that world of saying, hey, you know what, a fixed blade is strong, you know, so you can baton with it and survive with it. Well, if that's the case, you've got 6mm here, and you could lash it onto a stick and then baton with it if you really had to. You could figure out a way to survive with this knife. At the same time, now you have a solid grip that, you know, that's secure enough to defend yourself with, especially this design, you know, and quick deployment without any issues. And at the same time, now you're getting that thick blade stock and that less maintenance. This really bridges the gap, and yet somehow it's still pocket friendly enough to just be an EDC. You know, if here is a Hess 2. Nothing that much difficult to put this flat piece here inside your pocket. You see? And here, you know, you have the Delica. See? It's not much more. And what you're getting is basically all those things I just talked about. So that's the Brous Blades Silent Soldier version 2 neck knife by Jason Brous. Thank you.